what is your advice for people who are getting into hospitality industry? Of course, trust me, this question has been asked with everyone. Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Prashant.
How are you doing today?
I feel great.
All right.
I got up at early hour like normal.
That's starting a day early is a good thing. I think I'm struggling on that. So let's start this. I wanted to know your journey first before we get into hospitality and all the other stuff. Who is Glenn Turner?
Wow, you start with a hard one.
Yeah.
Who is Glenn Turner? I grew up in the United States, in the state of Virginia, in Northern Virginia. My parents were both in healthcare. My father was a physician. Mother was a nurse midwife and a nurse practitioner. And I have one younger sister, and grew up going to public school, and then went to University of Richmond for my undergraduate studies, bachelor's in physics, and then went to work for ADP. That was my first job out of college, focusing on payroll processing. I've always loved payroll processing, and hence the money and finance is connected with the business transaction of payroll processing. I always enjoyed it. When I first went to college, I thought that I was going to follow in my father's footsteps and become a doctor, but I realized pretty quickly that I was more geared towards business. And after a few years of being out working, I ended up getting a master's degree in business from Virginia Commonwealth University, and worked for several companies, and then ultimately started my own business in 2000, a software company called Firestream Worldwide, which focused on the petroleum industry. Essentially, it was an ERP system, but an accounting system at its root. And the team grew that business, and we sold it to a private equity backed.
What was your age then when you sold the company?
That was 2017, so I was 51 years old. That was 9 years ago. Yeah, 51. Now I'm 60.
And when did this entire RBS came in?
I stayed with PDI Technologies for 2.5 years, and at the tail end of that, one of my friends' families owns a big guest ranch on the Colorado-Wyoming border called the Lodge and Spot Three Forks Ranch. And there was an opportunity to get involved there and take a deep look at the way that the ranch did its business, meaning, what were the processes, what were the systems that were used. And so I spent a year there working with the team at the ranch. And one of the things early on that became clear is there was an opportunity to simplify to fewer systems and more modern systems. And one of the systems that ran the Lodge and Spot Three Forks Ranch was a system called Logical. It was a very popular piece of software, but fairly mature. It had been around for a long time. It wasn't web-based. And so I built a friendship with the woman that started that company, a woman named Kristen Williamson. And, the more we talked, the more I said, look, why don't we team up? I'll modernize the software and we'll work together. We'll build a web-based platform and have Logical endure into the future. And she took me up on that deal in the end of 2019, early 2020, which was essentially the beginning of Romeo Bravo software. And then, of course, we had COVID for a couple of years, but we rebuilt Kristen's Logical platform in the web, and that is the software that we now sell as Yellowstone. And that was a great several years of journey, and I really love the ranch, lodge, and outfitter part of our business. But it became clear to me in 2023 that we needed to think about how do we increase the potential of Romeo Bravo. And as much as there are some differences between a ranch and a lodge, or a dude ranch and a hotel, there are some similarities as well. And so we thought, okay, let's have another division of the company that focuses on hotels and restaurants. Hospitality, a little bit different type of hospitality, different type of guests, different types of properties. But at its root, a lot of similarities. And so we went and looked for companies to team up with instead of building from scratch a product for hotels. We found some companies to acquire, and so we did that. That's probably a really long-winded answer to your question of
Yeah.
who is
So
Glenn Turner.
so it was your love for software that converted when you've been started walking around ranches to see that this is going to be a great fit, or the technology knowledge that you have for hospitality. Did you also like the hospitality in large?
Yes, I love the petroleum industry. It was a very enjoyable place to spend almost 20 years working with the owners of businesses. Um, but in stepping into hospitality, of course, you start with the premise that a hospitality business is trying to make people happy, which is sort of a fun way to operate, right? If you start every day trying to make your guests satisfied and happy and fulfill their needs and service them, of course, it doesn't always work out that way. But on the days when you achieve what you set out to achieve, it's a really exciting business. But just pulling back for a second, it's not just the love of software that attracts me to what we do at RBS and what we did in Firestream Worldwide. It's that software and the operation of a business has to at some point convert to numbers in a ledger that tell you whether you're succeeding or failing. And so a lot of software companies forget that. They forget that, if I can't measure whether we made a profit or not, then I'm not successful. I might have a really pretty piece of software, but if it doesn't convert back to the numbers, then you miss out. And so RBS is a software company that focuses on ranches, lodges, outfitters, hotels, restaurants, and we convert things like reservations and selling food in all kinds of restaurants, and selling experiences in all kinds of places to money ultimately, because that's what our customers are, of course, in business to make a profit, and so we have to convert it all to money at some
So you
point.
you named all the verticals on hospitality. So it is restaurants, hotels, ranches, lodge. How are you currently? What are you doing in India? So I'm talking about
What am I
RBS.
doing in
Yeah.
India? That's a
What
good
RBS is doing in India, and why now?
that well, that's a really good question, and we could probably spend the rest of our time together talking about that. What brought me to India in the first place is, before I started Firestream Worldwide, I worked for Ernst and Young, and in the late '90s, Ernst and Young had centers of excellence in India to help companies all over the world convert their systems so that they would be Y2K ready, whether that meant implementing SAP or Oracle, or whether that meant refactoring an old COBOL system. And they had the centers of excellence in India. So it was my sort of first exposure to working with Indian teams for software development. When I started Firestream, I felt like there was an opportunity to have an advantage, both from a value proposition perspective, but also from the perspective of being able to work around the clock. So I could get customers in the US and begin to do work with those customers, and literally be delivering overnight and come back to them much faster than if I just had US operations. So in the early days of Firestream, we developed relationships with some companies here in India, in Bangalore first, and then ultimately transitioned to opening up an office here and hiring our own employees. And so that was the beginnings of working in India back in 2001, and then opening our office in 2004. But then over all of the years of coming here to be with our teams that were developing software, many times we would get into conversations with the team about, wouldn't it be great if we had customers here in India? What if we could sell our software here in India? And from 2001 to 2017, we had that conversation so many times. But it was always, we were so focused on taking care of the customers in the US market. And as I started RBS, again, initially our customers were only in the US. But when we acquired Winstar Infosoft in January of 2025, we immediately had the opportunity to have customers in India and, of course, other places as well: Indonesia, Philippines, UAE, et cetera, many different countries. But finally, we had some of the same people that I worked with at Firestream now, of course, work at RBS. Finally, now we have the conversation of, hey, we're working together to build software in India, but not just for the US, for companies all over the world, but particularly in India. So why India now? I think I heard you ask that question. The hotel market in India is continuing to grow dramatically, maybe more so than any other country on the planet. Just a year ago, there were about 165,000 hotels in India. And now, a year later, there's somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 additional hotels. And we think that for the next 10 years, India will continue to expand at 5,000 to 10,000 hotels per year. This is a very important place if you're running a hotel software company to be selling to the hotels. Of course, when you think about getting a customer, most of the time we're competing against whatever they're already doing. They're using somebody else's software. But think about it, in a market that's expanding between 3,000 and 10,000 hotels a year, or 5,000 and 10,000 hotels a year, there's a lot of them that they don't have any software to start with. And they're an owner. I was at the hotel owners conference in Mumbai last week, and we're walking around talking to owners that are building new properties. Even last night, you and I talked about people that are building new properties. And so we get to walk in there and have a conversation with them from scratch. Know, hey, this is what it's like to retrain your staff or convert your data. It's like, hey, this is what it's like to start with RBS software from the beginning. And that's a very interesting, opportunity for any business. So anyway.
So we talked about India, we talked about software.
Yes.
How you liking the market? I'm talking about the overall hospitality evolution in last 5-10 years. You've seen pre-COVID era and post-COVID. What is your view on evolution, how this industry is moving?
Oh gosh. You threw a hard ball there right away. I really wasn't prepared for you to ask that question, but of course, the answer obviously ties back to what's happening in technology and software in general. Which, if you're in the software business, whether you have a product or if you're developing software for a corporation, the topic of AI is ever present now. It's dramatically changing how we build software, not only how we offer capabilities to our customers in terms of functionality, but how do we show up to work as software engineers and solution architects and quality assurance people, and how do we build software now versus even 3 months ago, dramatically different, versus a year ago, versus 20 years ago. One of the things that I've always felt strongly about is that we don't build software without a very crystal clear plan. There are, of course, genius people that can build software. The idea comes in one side of their head and they sit down and they start coding and it comes out of their fingers. But for me, a scalable software company has always looked like, how do I understand what the user wants and clearly articulate it in writing so that I can give a plan to a software developer that they know what to execute. That's always taken a lot of time over the years. I mean, I can think of functionality that we've spent 6 months or 8 months writing down what it does, how it works, how the data needs to be structured, what the reports look like. That process now can be collapsed to hours. We can take very complex needs and turn that into a set of software requirements that our team can build from in hours. Now, the other piece of the build from is that instead of having to type every line of code, we can take those requirements, stick them straight into AI, and have the team facilitate the AI actually doing the coding. Of course, the AI doesn't always do well, so you need someone that has the experience to judge what the AI is doing and go, okay, yeah, that's not quite the right approach. We need to tweak that, make it better. Otherwise, you can wind up with less than optimal output. But I think I'm meandering away from your question. Software, technology, hospitality. Every industry is under pressure right now to be more efficient with implementing and deploying and using software on a daily basis, and onboarding and training team members so that they can use software on a daily basis. And so, that's the pressure we're under. Use it internally to better develop our own products and services that we take to market, but also begin to deploy capabilities that sometimes we never thought of before.
Yeah, I think so. The advantage today is that AI is there, but requirement is something that you need to get it right, because you can make software quickly if you have clear paths that what you're building.
That's right.
And uh, I wanted to understand how at RBS you are looking at fast-paced change in hospitality. We started from hotel, you talked about ranches,
Yeah.
lodges. Now we have Airbnbs, we are coming up with different kind of accommodation types. So 10 years ago, it was only hotel or, lodges. Now there's so many of accommodation type. What is RBS is doing in terms of looking at all of these parameters in industry?
It's a good question. And so for us, we're fairly particular about the kinds of accommodation types that we like. We like generally to have a customer that has 300 or more rooms. That doesn't mean we won't take a customer that has 50 or 75 rooms, but we'd like to have a customer that has 300 or more rooms. That could be 3 properties with 100 rooms each.
Yeah.
That could be 6 properties with 50 rooms. So we like to be able to deploy our software in places where we know that they're going to get the value out of what we've created. So you talked about Airbnbs and that sort of I'll call it a competitive product to a traditional hotel. Short-term rentals, it's called in some places. And that's an interesting market. I don't think we are best equipped to serve that market. Those tend to be individual property owners or people that own just a few properties. And there are some great companies in that space. It's a different model than what we have. We're trying to accommodate people that have some level of operational complexity: housekeeping, food and beverage, banquet operations, gift shop operations, restaurant operations. Those are the opportunities where I feel like we shine and do well. Someone that's renting their property for 1 night, 2 nights, 10 nights, it's probably not at the moment a fit for us. It doesn't mean we won't consider it in the future, but at the moment we're trying to cater to more traditional lodging operations, either ranches, lodges, dude ranches, hotels, motels, resorts. That's the profile for us.
The question now is that how RBS is shaping this hospitality industry. What are you bringing to hospitality? I'm talking about complete hospitality, includes your restaurants and every segment that we talked about. What is RBS doing for that?
If you look at the mission of RBS, the mission of RBS is to make our customers profitable. And, for a minute, you may say, well, isn't that the goal of every business? But we meet a remarkable number of businesses that either don't know whether they're profitable or they're not profitable. They're losing a little bit of money or they're breaking even. And, you know, I don't know if it's likely to change in the near or long-term future, but hospitality operations are very capital intensive. The only way to operate successfully a capital intensive business is to generate profit so that you can replace carpets, you can replace beds, you can replace, TVs, you can refurbish lobbies, you can, refurbish kitchens. And that's just the physical side of the business, very capital intensive. You think about the people side of the business, and of course, we know that the people side of hospitality is definitely facing major changes. I don't know if we'll talk about that today or not. I hope we do. But even at the moment, the traditional people side of the hospitality business, I think if I were to ask you, Prashant, you're operating a hotel, would you like to hire the very best people, or would you just like to hire average people?
The best.
You would like to hire the very best people. To hire the very best people, you have to pay competitively with the market. Well, guess what? You can only pay competitively with the market if you're generating enough profit to pay competitively with market. Otherwise, you have to take what you can get in terms of talent. And for people listening to this podcast, it may sound a little cutthroat or ruthless to say that you don't want average people working in your business. And that's not, that phrase would be taken out of context if it was taken alone. The point of what I'm trying to say is that when I show up at a hotel at 8 or 10 o'clock at night and I'm weary from a journey that went wrong because of weather or mechanical problems on a plane or for whatever reason, the last thing I want is someone that doesn't understand how to provide great service. And, it's not an easy thing to find people that are geared well for hospitality. But when you find them, you want to pay them well so that they'll stay around for a long time, because attracting, onboarding, training, and retaining the best people takes money.
So long-term vision is with peoples rather than software is one that you're going to work on the people's. RBS is going to work on the people as well.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to. I mean, of course, we want the software to work well. We want it to be able to take reservations and, manage various operational areas of the hotel. But the software is just an enabler of the operation.
Sounds interesting. Just to add on to make it more simpler, if I have to take a car company, Tesla has done something. If I have to take a software company, Apple and Windows have done something, product company. Just give me this comparison when it comes to RBS, how you want to take it. What is RBS for hospitality industry?
What is RBS for hospitality? A few people have said that we're the operating system for hospitality. So don't think of it as a PMS or a POS or an ERP or an accounting system. We'll think of it as the operating system, the connective tissue of your operation.
You are a Windows for entire hospitality, right? That's gonna be the future. I think I've read your book, Guest OS.
Yeah.
You.
How was it?
It was good.
What did you think? Too long, maybe.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's a good read for anyone who wanted to know inside of hospitality. And I strongly believe that any industry, like what you mentioned in the book, run our business operating system. And when it comes to hospitality, today we see a lot of other softwares which are working in hospitality in hotels to make the operation run. With this thought that you're going to be an operating system for hospitality, I think that makes sense. That is what today hospitality world needs. And for this, I'm coming to the question, what is the vision of the future of RBS? If I think it's not answered already with the operating system.
Well, I think the vision of the future is to be recognized, for RBS to be recognized as one of the top technology companies in hospitality worldwide. We know we won't be the top, but we want to be recognized in the top group. that this, depending on which part of the market you slice into, the ranch, lodge, and outfitter space is not really dense with competitors, but the hotel and restaurant space is very dense with competitors. Hundreds and thousands of companies around the world. So, how do we set ourselves apart? I've talked about the operating system aspect and how how important that is and how important it is to get back to numbers. The other thing that is really, really important to us is to stay very, very close to our customers. And what does that literally mean? Well, that literally means that our team goes out and sits knee to knee, face to face with our customers and tries to understand what are the problems that they're facing right now, or what are the opportunities that they're trying to be successful with right now. And that comes in all shapes and sizes, but we can't sit isolated in our offices or in our homes because, of course, many of our team members work remotely, but we cannot sit isolated from our customers and push products out to them and say, use that product, without getting huge amounts of feedback from our customers saying, hey, these are the problems we're trying to solve. And so a big part of our product roadmap across all of our products, we have a number of products, is heavily informed by conversations with customers. We're trying to solve X, Y, Z problem, and how can you help us solve that problem? And I like to think that's been a huge source of success for us.
I'm sure.
Last week, I was sitting with some customers, and they brought up certain things. We said, "Oh, well, that's a piece of functionality that we may already partially be able to enable. What else?" I'm not talking, Prashant, about developing custom software for our customers. We don't want to be a custom software company. We have to be a product software company. So we're always listening when we're having conversations with customers about what are those things that they need that maybe other people also need. And then we start to do a little bit of market research, and we go talk to other customers and say, hey, we understand that some of our customers are facing this problem. Are you facing that problem? Oh yeah, we're facing that problem too. So then we end up prioritizing those things that serve the needs of the whole market, but based on direct feedback from a customer. It may sound very simple, but in fact, I see our competition. And by the way, we have some great competitors.
I'll come to that.
Okay, great. Look forward to that. But I see their focus seems to be a bit different. They're trying to be on the bleeding edge with our product, or they're trying to be operationally excellent. Those things are important to us. But for us, the most important thing is being close to the customer so that we understand how to serve them well.
This is unlike of a software company. I think I'll quote it. Steve Jobs has this thought that you cannot build a product and then go out in the market and tell that there's a product. You have to do a reverse engineering. The customer service is first, knowing what they want, and then come back and make a product for them. And you mentioned it right. I have seen a lot of hotel software around, and the question is that this is how hospitality industry works, and we have made it. And now with so much of change is coming in, and I'm telling you that I've been doing podcasts with a lot of hotel owners and industry stalwarts. Everyone is now super educated about AI, about technology, and we do not need anything which was working from last 20 years, 30 years. And that goes in education and softwares and entire of the industry. Now that brings me to point, if you're building a technology company in hospitality, what does it take to be a successful hospitality technology company?
And what does it take to be successful?
I'll make it simpler for you. Is it people, process, or system?
People.
People. Elaborate on that, please.
Only one thing. Well, it's the people on our team that provide the service, that do the implementation, that build the software. Even in the presence of AI, the human has to be in the loop. So, if I have to pick one, it's people.
In last 3-4 years of making RBS, how much contribution do you think the process and system has made for RBS versus people?
Well, process and system, or being disciplined about how you run the business, it's really important. That's how we scale. Like when I started the business, it was only me, and then it was 2, and then 4, and then 6, and now we have 250 or 275 employees. Actually, I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around there, about 275 employees. And the only way we can effectively scale, not, by the way, we're not judging our success by head count. That's, that's not what I'm trying to say. But I think our heads will continue to grow as we grow as a business. The only way we can be successful operating in a satisfactory way, as judged by our customers, is if the 550th employee knows the same things that I knew when I started. So number one has to have some kind of carryover of how we work. What are the things that are important? What are our core values? What's our mission, our vision? But to scale the company, back to your process and systems question, is, hey, we follow certain processes. This is how we provide, continuity from the beginning to wherever we wind up in the future. I'm sorry, I think I muddled the answer a little bit.
That's fine. I have a follow-up question on that.
Okay.
My study on RBS is that you have acquired few good businesses, and with that you get good people.
Correct.
And when I go through it, it is good people working under one roof makes a company better.
Correct.
So, and if you can take few names that are the part of RBS, like product companies and people that came along, and how is RBS now targeting to be industry leader?
The names of competitors?
No,
or-
names of the company that you have acquired and that makes
Oh,
RBS.
okay. The names of the companies we've acquired. Well, I mentioned Logical. That was the first company we acquired. We acquired another company called Guide Pointer, Ranch Bookings, Retvins, of course,
Yeah.
Winsar, Smart Hotel Software, Hashmado is our point of sale platform. And actually today, I don't think we're going to release this today, so I think it's safe for me to say, but today we're acquiring Zeco, which is a pre-arrival technology company, and we'll continue to acquire other businesses. You didn't ask the question, but maybe I just share a little bit with you about when we acquire a company. Maybe this kind of complements your system and process question. When we acquire a company, do we operate that company as a separate business? So are we a group of companies with separate capabilities? And the answer is no. The idea from day one has been that as we acquire businesses, they become part of one RBS. We have signature brands, of course. WinCloud is our signature cloud-based PMS for hotels. Yellowstone, signature brand for ranches, lodges, and outfitters. But we operate under sort of an endorsed brand model. So RBS is the umbrella. People should know RBS as a company. But then we have products under that umbrella, like WinCloud, like Retvins, like Hashmado.
8 company already acquired.
8, yes.
Yes, and many more to come.
Again, we're not trying to earn a reputation by just making a bunch of deals. The idea here is to aggregate capabilities that we think are important for the market. So today, Zeco is pre-arrival technology. Last month, Retvins was revenue management technology and service, which I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk about managed services today or not. But so each one of the companies we bought there was a different reason for doing it. And so every time when we have an opportunity, we think, how does this support our business plan? So
Understood. So let's talk about AI a little bit.
Okay.
What is RBS doing in AI? What is anything that you can talk about which can be released online and
Sure.
shown to people?
Sure. So, first and foremost, we have to change the way we develop software. AI is enabling us to speed up our development process and raise our quality, delivery quality, by dramatic. I hate to even guess. If I said 3 times, I'd probably be low. If I said 10 times, I might be in the neighborhood. I don't know. But if you look at where we were a year ago, even 9 months ago, a piece of functionality that would have taken us 24 man months to develop might now take us 2 man months or 3 man months. It's dramatically different what we're capable of with AI. So that's the building of our products. That's an important aspect of AI. The other thing that we've spent a lot of time doing is trying to be very careful and thoughtful about how we introduce AI into each one of our products. Several of our products now have AI chat enabled. So think of a chat GPT, but embedded into our software. So asking questions like, how many of our guests that are checking in today have visited here before versus first-time guests? How many of our guests came, more than 100 kilometers to get here? How many of our guests were on an airplane to get here? So being able to get information like that may, before you might have thought, well, I need to run a report to get that, but maybe there's not a report that answers that question. Now the AI can answer it in chatbot fashion. So that's already introduced into our software. The next frontier for us, we did a project last year with BDO, the global accounting and professional services and strategy firm. We did a project with BDO called Project Aurora. And what we were looking at in Project Aurora is, how do we introduce capabilities that improve the experience of a guest or of an employee of one of our customers or of a partner of one of our customers? And honestly, going into that, I would have said to you that the biggest opportunities are in the guest-facing side of things. And there's numerous areas where you might think, well, we introduce AI on behalf of the guest. But you, who has a lot more experience in hospitality than I do, you may not be surprised to know that may not be the best place to introduce AI. Of course, the guests are expecting mobile apps and things like that, but we already do that. But where AI really has maybe the largest impact potential in hospitality businesses first is in the back office. And you and I were even talking this morning about some particular use cases, which I won't get into the ones that we were talking about, but the back office in the hospitality business is very labor intensive. It takes, many man hours to make sure that you've got your business. This goes back to the accounting thing I said a while ago. If I can't translate the business into how it gets onto my financial statement and my balance sheet effectively and efficiently, I'm probably in trouble. And those resources are expensive as well. The good news is that there are some very great opportunities to deploy AI in the back office. I think we're very early in our processes of introducing AI-enabled back office workflows, but that's our first priority.
Talk about some innovations that you're doing as we're talking about AI.
Gosh, I'll defer to saying what the team is doing.
Even if your thought is fine. Innovation that you trying to bring in the industry via RBS.
I push it back to you and say that revenue management, of course, is a source of excitement for most of our customers, because if we can introduce capabilities that allow, this is back to our mission, make our customers more profitable. Whatever we can do to make our customers more profitable is great. I think that's an area of focus for us, is to continue to leverage AI so that our customers aren't leaving money on the table, and also they're overoccupied at too low a price. or they're not underoccupied at too high a price. And AI, more so than ever, has the ability to help our customers make good decisions about how they price their product, which of course varies from customer to customer. For some customers, that's a hotel room. For some customers, that's a stay at a ranch or an experience at a restaurant. That's probably the number one, area where we can
What are
pull
we
a
going to
lever.
see as new upcoming products, services from RBS in next 6 months, not years, 6 months?
Next 6 months. Hmm. Um, Boy, I ought to be able to answer that off the tip of
That's
my tongue. I think, one of the areas that we've focused on in WinCloud, I'll pull that one out, is just spa and wellness. We continue to see that as an interesting, growth areas, particularly in the 4 and 5 star properties, and we're working to enhance our functionality there. That'll be a big opportunity for us. Man, there's so many things that I want to talk about, but I think it's maybe premature for me to talk about. But I'm going to leave that one a little vague for the
that's
time
right.
being.
Any domain that you guys are looking at to come up with that you have already not touched, or you are already working on it, and there is more innovation coming in. Just an area of hospitality that you are focusing on currently.
This also goes back to a conversation you and I had. I think many of our customers of all sizes seem to have a bias to having fewer suppliers of technology rather than more. Of course, it's possible to pick products from many different suppliers and integrate them all together with APIs or various integration approaches. But when I sit in our customers' offices, the last thing they want is one more relationship to manage, particularly when they find somebody they trust. And so once they figure out they can trust you, then they're like, well, can you also take on this area and that area and that area? So we're looking at things like channel management and HR and payroll. We have some limited HR and payroll capabilities, but we want to expand those capabilities, and I think there's some interesting opportunities there. We have in one segment of our business a pretty good booking engine, but in another segment we have a gap there, and so we're trying to plug that gap as well. When you think about the strategy for any of our customers in terms of bringing in customers, they have to have a multi-channel approach, and so we have to be good at getting to the OTAs through channel managers and supporting whatever option our customer wants to choose there, but also in attracting direct bookings. Maybe the other thing I would come back to is we've had the capability for a while through our RBS Pay platform to support embedded payment processing. We have right around 100 locations that we provide embedded payment processing for now. I think that could grow into the thousands over the next couple of years as we start to think more about having payment processing be a part of
PMS.
Well, it's already a part of the PMS. So we already support many payment platforms, but right now they're somewhat disconnected and we don't have control. So, and I won't name names, but if we bring on a new hotel customer or a new ranch customer onto one of our platforms, they sometimes are bringing a payment processor with them. And one of the largest sources of frustration that we hear from customers is in this area of payment processing. Sometimes it's the rate that they're paying. They feel like it's too expensive. Sometimes it's the service they're getting. They can't get someone on the phone that can answer why their batch of credit cards that they ran yesterday, the deposit they got today doesn't match that. Why? There's no explanation. and they try to get through and they can't get through to a human being. And yes, we love AI enabled customer service, but sometimes, especially when you're dealing with, hey, why is this cash that's coming into my account doesn't match what I thought it was supposed to be? RBS Pay for us will be a huge focus area over the next couple of years, because it ties back to that whole route to profitability and accounting that has to support the business.
I think you talked about all the vertical which combined makes a hospitality solution. Anything that you're missing that you think is the biggest gap now, and you might think that if in next 1 years that you're going to work on that gap?
I think booking engine on the hotel side, we have it covered on the ranch lodge and outfitter side. We have a great solution there. But on the hotel side, booking engine, and the restaurant side, more in terms of online ordering integration. Here in India, Swiggy, Zomato, Blinkit, those channels are very important for our restaurant customers. So we're working on that. And maybe that'll be more partnership oriented than acquisition oriented. But on the booking engine side, with regard to hotels, I think we'll acquire a booking engine platform that's substantial here in the next 12 months. Channel manager, we're still thinking through that one. That's a very interesting area that has some potential, but you have to be very efficient at it. And we haven't made any final decisions in that area, but we're having some conversations.
I'm not a fan of channel manager. You cannot charge for an API. That's my thought is.
Yes,
And
that's right.
I've started working in the era where there was no channel manager.
Yep.
Versus there were thousands came out and then all got shrink to few.
A few. And there's some very good ones, by the way. Even if we acquire a channel manager, companies like SiteMinder and STA and Access Rooms and all these others, we'll continue to partner with those companies, because, some of our customers have relationships with those businesses that they want to maintain. We're not going to force them to take a product that we acquire.
I'll pick a line when you said about there is a problem that we can solve about people. And I want to put a question here is, there are a lot of opportunities and problem in this industry. I want you to name few and what RBS is doing for this. I'm talking about both the problems and opportunities, both.
Gosh.
One we have already talked, the biggest one, which is people.
Yeah, people.
And I can see a lot of other opportunities
Number
out there.
one. Yeah, lots of opportunities in the people area. I think I'd like to hold back from talking about some of the others, because we have some great initiatives going on, but it's premature to really talk about them. I think there'll be subject matter for future podcasts. How about that?
All right. Any opportunity that you look at near term?
I think we've covered them. I'm talking
about not per se of a software, but any other opportunity that you see in hospitality, apart from software tech.
Apart from software tech. Tell me what you're thinking. You must be thinking of something.
That's the love of hospitality I wanted to find out. So what I see is in every country, when it comes to hospitality, there's sense of hospitality that country gives to it. And then there's European hospitality, then it is Indian hospitality, then it's
American hospitality, sure.
And what I feel is that you go every place, you feel different about same brand. So if I go and stay in Marriott in India versus in US, the feel is totally different. And
do you mean localized?
Not localized in terms of the how people behave with you, what are their service, what are their ways to connect with the people. I was in Dubai talking to one of the person. He said, Prashant, the best hospitality you can get is in Pakistan. People are very warm.
It is very
they don't have great hotels. Of course, they have good ones, but they don't have the great hotels.
Yeah.
I think what I look at the gap is that you get the great hotels versus the great hospitality. In future, in next 4, 5, 10 years, with AI, with software, with business, hospitality will go out. Hotels will grow. That is the biggest problem. I think all of these brands per se, all of these international brands, they're teaching people, and it comes back to your questions. People, they're training them to have the sense of hospitality inside. which is kind of missing.
This is your podcast, but I do want to bring up something because something you just said kind of makes me think about. I've had this conversation many times in the last 6 months and 12 months, and it relates to AI, but it's something that I don't think we've seen yet in hospitality, which is AI in human form, humanoids.
Yeah.
And so I think in the next 6 months to 12 months,
Wow.
we're going to see humanoids in hospitality businesses. For what seems to me to be very cheap now, you can acquire a humanoid, $6,000 to $12,000 US. You can buy a humanoid that can do tasks. And I don't want to check in with a humanoid at the front desk. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
But when I think about having someone carry my bags to my room, I'm on an international trip. I have, 2 huge suitcases and a backpack and everything. And yes, I'm happy to have the bell staff do that. But the bell staff at a big hotel is busy.
Yeah.
But if you had humanoids that could offload some of that and bring bags to a room, that would be really amazing. I think humanoids in housekeeping are coming. You can teach a humanoid how to clean a bathroom, make a bed, replace towels, make sure that a room is clean. We all want clean rooms to stay in. But so why do I bring up humanoids? And earlier we talked a little bit about HR and payroll. I think one of the things that I'm thinking about is when I think about HR and payroll, now HR means human resources.
Yeah.
HR in the future is going to mean human resources and humanoid resources, right? So now instead of worrying about payroll and benefits and hire dates and promotion dates and performance reviews, it's warranties and serial numbers and firmware upgrades and skills training for humanoids, skills training for humans. So I think HR is going to evolve dramatically in the very near future, just because the humanoids, the robots, are getting so much better. The Consumer Electronics Show this year, more robots were there. I didn't get to go. I've never been to the CES. I would like to go sometime, but all the reporting I saw on it, there's many more than there were last year and the year before. And companies like Tesla and Honda and big global industrial manufacturing companies are coming out with very capable humanoid products. And so I think it's a matter of time before we see these humanoids. And again, not because we don't value people. We value people. I think the human in the loop is always going to be important in hospitality, just like it is in the software development process. But there are certain tasks and properties that lend themselves well to getting some mechanical help.
So this is something which will take another podcast to discuss, and
It will.
maybe after 2 or 3 years we'll talk about humanoid with someone taking the videos.
Maybe.
and that brings me to a point that I discussed something with one tech founder. He said, Prashant, at the peak of software, there's always a rise of hardware. You can reach to maximum of software. Then for that software to run, you need in hardware.
Yeah.
And the future is not the software; it is hardware.
And it's interesting. The speed of hardware evolution is just breathtaking.
We've all seen NVIDIA rising from ashes.
Yeah. The first I ever heard about NVIDIA many years ago was, you needed an NVIDIA card in your machine if you were playing games. I'm not a gamer, so I didn't need that. But now, as we find out that GPUs enable AI, all of a sudden NVIDIA has become very important. It's not a discussion about NVIDIA, but back to the hardware. You're right. Hardware will continue to just follow the Moore's law and the massive progression in speed and price and capability. I was sitting with one of our team members in the last couple of days, and we were looking at Mac Minis and some of the capabilities that you can get in a Mac Mini now, which are just unbelievable. But my MacBook Pro is an amazing piece of machinery, but every year they version those, and they're getting faster and more capable. And I love that kind of stuff because it enables the rest of our business.
So hardware sale has increased by almost 32%. Mac Minis are selling out of shelf, getting sold out.
They're sold out.
Yeah, because
I tried to order a Mac Mini on Friday or Saturday. The soonest I could get it was June 30th.
Yeah, they're
I
sold
mean,
out.
it's middle of April.
Yeah, everyone is getting Mac.
2.5 months.
Yeah, they're putting open claw there. Let me ask you a cliche question. What is your advice for people who are getting into hospitality industry? Of course, trust me, this question has been asked with everyone, but the answers are totally different. I want to know yours.
Oh, what's my advice to people getting in hospitality? If you don't love it, get out. That's one piece of advice is, actually, maybe you could give that advice to any industry is, find a place where you like to go to work. Look, you can't have happy day every day at work, but you ought to feel some sort of satisfaction from the work that you do. And, I'm not saying you should work too much. I'm a huge fan of work-life balance. It's a conversation we regularly have with many of the people on our team. But whether you're working in hospitality or another industry, if you don't really feel satisfied by your work, then maybe find work where you do feel satisfied.
All right. I'll ask quick questions. These are rapid fire. You don't have to think about it. Just answer as it comes to you.
Okay.
Early morning or late night?
Early morning.
One word that defines you as a leader?
Demanding.
One habit you swear by?
Reading.
Favorite country you worked in?
United States of America.
One city you can visit again and again?
Oh, gosh.
Chennai.
One city, you said rapid fire. Gosh, that one's a really hard one. Positano, Italy.
Oh. Beach, mountain, countryside?
Beach.
Favorite cuisine?
Sushi.
One destination still on your bucket list?
Australia.
What does flying teach you about leadership? By the way, you fly, and we cover this in your personal blog then.
What does flying teach me about leadership? Use a checklist.
Wow. What matters more, service or technology?
Service.
One thing that impressed you in a hotel?
Say it again. One thing that impresses me?
For the hotel.
For a hotel. Any particular hotel or just hotels in general?
Anything that impresses you about hotel.
A comfortable bed.
Wow. One mistake young founders should avoid, and I'm talking about hospitality, hotels and ranches and everywhere.
Not having a business plan.
Speed or perfection?
Perfection. No, I'm changing my answer. Speed.
Cockpit or boardroom, where do you feel more in control?
Cockpit or boardroom? Cockpit, for sure.
Ranch and luxury hotel, which one?
Don't make me choose. I love a great luxury hotel, but man, there's nothing like a great ranch experience. And you can get a luxury ranch experience too.
India or US, which is a tougher market?
Oh, man. India is the tougher market.
One thing every hotel owners get wrong.
One thing every hotel owners get wrong.
That's a part of your book, I think.
Yeah, of course. I know what part you're talking about. It's not that they get it wrong because they're not well educated or experienced. It's the formula of accounting gets taught in business school as, revenue minus expenses equals profit. And there's a great book out there about making profit first, and I refer to that in the book. And it just switches the accounting formula around.
Give me that
from
formula. I've
the
read that.
formula is revenue minus profit equals expenses. And you've got to develop discipline around deciding what you want your profit to be or what you need it to be, back to the earlier part of our conversation.
Future of hospitality in one word.
Future of hospitality continues to be making people feel at home.
One word for RBS.
One word for RBS. Customer driven.
If not building RBS, what would you be doing today?
I'd be tinkering with building some other piece of software, and back to the family life balance thing, the life work balance thing. I'd be focused on our family. We have 5 great kids, and they have 5 great spouses, and we have 1 soon to be 3 grandchildren, and so spending time with the family is always at the top of my mind.
Last question. One advice that you will give it to yourself, a 30-year-old version of yourself.
Hmm.
This is half the age.
Half the age.
Now you have all the wisdom to tell that person.
Listen more, speak less.
That was for me, by the way.
That was from you?
Yeah. So I wanted this answer for myself.
Okay.
Thank you, Glenn. It was lovely having you.
It was great to
And-
be here. I really enjoyed it. And of course, unlike some of your other podcasts, we had to work together every day.
Yeah, I'm not getting out of this.
Yep.
So-
You're not getting out of it. We'll see each other tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Thank you, Glenn.
Hey, thank you. I enjoyed it.